Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good day, evening, night, whenever you're listening to this. It has been a few days. This was my birthday weekend. My birthday was yesterday. So I kind of just, I made one video about P. Diddy when it came out, but that was about it. But I've been sitting on what we have tonight for a few days now, thanks to a good friend of mine, Ethan, who I'm going to bring on the show here in a minute. He is known on TikTok as Crime Scene, spelled SEEN, Crime Scene Collective. I don't know how Ethan does it. We'll talk about it, but he gets access to some pretty amazing stuff. It's like he's a magician or something like that. But he sent me some information that you're not going to see anywhere else but here, at least until after this, regarding JP and his first wife and just patterns that are JP Miller. And we have a few other things that we'll talk about as well. But before we do that, you guys know I have to do this. I have to pay the bills, right? So few things first. I've gotten much better at taking these episodes and rolling them over to the podcast. So if you're not able to watch them in their entirety, or it's easier for you to listen to them in the car, after this, maybe tonight, tomorrow morning, I will get this rolled over to a podcast. 50 Words for Murder. You can get to it by going to justinontiktok.com, which is scrolling below. Scrolling down till you see this giant logo right here, and then clicking on it, and make sure to hit the subscribe button on there for the podcast. Follow it so you get updates. This takes you to Spotify, but I'm on Apple and anywhere else that you could hear podcasts. So, anyways, next up is I want to talk about the books. So on my store on justinontiktok.com, they're not on sale, but on TikTok Shop, they are still on sale because they've been doing so well with the sale. I figured I would just keep it rolling for another day or two. So if you want to get Boundaries or Surprise RK Secrets or Not, both through my website or through TikTok Shop, I will sign either copy no matter where you buy it. The Boundaries, if you are no contact, limited contact with your family, this is a good way to explain it to your children in a way that's easy for them to understand, that doesn't vilify that person, then teaches them the importance of boundaries. And look, one side effect from this book that I did not expect is that a lot of adults have found value in it too, who are having challenging relationships with their family to help them understand and get through it. So, it's, even though it's a children's book, it has helped a lot of adults for what that's worth to you. The other one is surprise are okay, secrets are not. And honestly, I'm not just saying this because I wrote this book, but every parent should have this book in their arsenal. Basically, what this book is designed to do is it's designed to help you teach your kids that, hey, you should be keeping secrets. Adults especially should not be asking your kids to keep a secret. And at the end, it gives a Q&A that you can have age-appropriate discussions and jumping off points with your child to help keep them safe and teach them how to use their voice. That's kind of what it's all about. Last thing I'm going to say, if you are new here, you are new seeing me on YouTube, definitely hit that subscribe button. Yeah, we're trying to grow this channel, and God forbid TikTok actually does go away. Yeah, that's, we're going to be here. So that being said, let me bring on Ethan real quick. Hey there, how are you doing tonight, Ethan?
Hey, Justin, good to see you, man. Happy late birthday.
Thank you.
Sorry, I don't know how to fix what's going on here. Sorry. But yeah, this is actually what my face looks like, unfortunately, but I'm talking about whatever's happening here.
You're just blurry. Not really, but you're just like, you just appear into the background.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a problem for future you to figure out. That's not a big deal.
Yes.
So,
yep.
So Ethan, I've known Ethan for a while now. How long? Like, I don't know, what, a year and a half, 2 years now going on?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Man. That sounds right.
Yeah. And Ethan has brought me in on some cases. He's made great connections, for cases. Jennifer Santinello's one. The Solomon case was another. And I mean, that's just a couple of the larger ones, but there's other things in between. We have a big project that we're working on, so stay tuned for that. But he's able to get information. I don't know how he does it. He's, like I said, it's just amazing. So he sent me some court documents tonight that you guys have not seen anywhere else regarding JP Miller. And so I'll tell you what, before we get into that, why don't you real quick, Ethan, just introduce yourself and your channel.
Sure.
Make sure to, pimp your channel.
Oh, if you don't mind. Yeah. Yeah, my name's Ethan. I'm part of a very small organization we call Crime Scene Collective. And we sort of try to help families that are going through some crisis or pursuit of justice. There's a few of us that contribute to this. And yeah, it's just some interesting phenomenon that happened to me maybe a year and a half ago, around the time I met you, Justin, where I stumbled across an article about a case that was unsolved, and I reached out to the mother, and I just got hooked, and we made some real difference to that family's situation. And we've contributed to other families as well, whether we assist in fundraising or getting media attention, national, independent media influencers like yourself. And so I just try to connect with as many people that have a voice to help these families get the word out about what's going on.
All right, and definitely give Ethan a follow on Crime Scene Collective, spelled, the scene is spelled SEEN for those of y'all who are listening on TikTok. And real quick, by the way, for my TikTok followers, because we do have the phone up, they can't hear you. Like, we can't hear Ethan. You got to jump over to YouTube. It's Justin on TikTok on YouTube. And also for anybody listening to this now or later on a podcast or whatever, go to Justin to get to YouTube. The easiest way, go to justinontiktok.com. Under my picture, far right, you'll see the YouTube icon. It'll take you right there. And if you missed this or missed part of it, you can always go back and listen to it, watch it. Now, you sent me a whole boatload of documents on Friday, I think. Yeah. And I've been sitting on them all week because it was my birthday week. So I was like, I don't want to deal with this, but I had a chance to go through them, and they're interesting. You know what? Since you sent them to me, I'm going to give you the spotlight on this. Why don't you kind of introduce what we're about to be looking at, these court documents?
Yeah. So much like anybody tuning in right now, I've just sort of been appalled and fascinated by this whole Micah Miller story, and sort of how we got here and how this happened, and the contributing factors that led up to her unaliving. And, you go down this rabbit hole, and there's an ex-wife that was married to him that I believe is the mother to 4 of the children that he has. And
at least 3, maybe all 4, but at least 3. I've heard conflicting reports, but it's not,
I could be wrong.
It's not overly relevant though,
It's not. And all the stuff about the children is redacted, so that's good. Yeah. And so I basically just wanted to learn more about any, if we could find any patterns of behavior or anything that, he had done previously that has been alleged that happened to Micah. And it turns out, spoiler alert, there's a lot of things. a lot of wild things that are alleged in these documents. And to be clear, these are police reports from Horry County, in Myrtle Beach, and primarily his ex-wife had called the cops. And I think a lot of this is related to their custody battle or their co-parenting plan. And so it looks like his ex-wife was sort of documenting any incidents that occurred, whether or not charges were pressed. It's just sort of a paper trail to prove that she reported this.
So when I read all of the reports that you sent, so these are we do have some stuff to talk about with Micah, some new texts and stuff to show you guys. But before we get to that, I wanted to make sure we went through these documents. But these mostly pertain to Allie, the ex-wife, and as you go through it, what I really see here, it's a pattern of manipulation. It's a pattern of using the kids as pawns to do, to do whatever.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the divorce that I went through as a kid. My parents used us as pawns against each other. It's a nasty situation. It shouldn't be that way. And I don't believe that Allie was doing that. I think that she was typically it's one parent doing that is typically, and the other one, kind of as a result. But, let's just get right into it. Right. Let me pull this one up. So this is the first one. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to pull it up bigger on my side because I'm getting older and I can't.
You are 1 year older.
I am 1 year older, but I want to pull this one up so I can read a little bit better here. But basically, what you're looking at is this one goes kind of with custody. So, this was on 3/6 of 2016, and the victim reported that the offender, so the victim being Allie, the ex-wife, the offender being JP. So basically, the victim reported that the offender constantly stalks and harasses her. The victim said the offender is on this one.
Hey,
this
Justin,
one,
you may be showing the wrong one.
Not the right one yet. Let me hold on. I don't want to do that one. Well, just wait. That one.
They look the same. You got to save the best for last. But yeah.
Well, that was not the last one. That's the one that comes next. Okay, sorry. This was 11/5 of 15. We're going to do these in chronological order, and I didn't put all of them because some of them were just not overly relevant.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, on 11/5/15, the victim reported that the offender was in violation of their family court visitation order. The victim in this case, the person being listed as the victim is JP Miller, and the offender is Allie. Just so you know, in this particular way, this police report was filed. So, victim reported that the offender was in violation of the family court order, which is child visitation order. The victim said that he went to the offender's residence to pick up the children for his scheduled afternoon visitation. The victim said that when he got there about an hour before he was supposed to return the children back home, the offender refused to allow the victim to take the children. The victim said that the offender's refusal put her in violation of their family court order. So basically what's happening here is that he shows up to get the kids about an hour before he was supposed to pick the kids up, right? Or supposed to bring them back, I'm sorry. And basically what he's saying is that she's not allowing him to take the kids, which would put her in violation of the family court order, the custody, the visitation agreement. But here's why. The offender said that the reason she has not let the children, basically the victim, take the children is because it was not safe for them to do, not safe for him to take them. And the reason for that was, well, I'll get to it. She said that I'm jumping ahead because I'm just very excited about this one, I guess. But the offender said that she would never keep the children away from the victim. The offender said that she told the victim that he needed to have someone drive him over to get the children because the victim did not need to be driving. Now, why did JP not need to be driving? Well, apparently his right foot and left arm were injured to the point that the victim was walking with crutches, and both his right leg and foot and left arm were wrapped in a soft cast. The victim could only use his right hand and arm and left foot for the gas and brake pedal. So the opposite foot you would drive. If you're driving a stick shift, it's your clutch foot, basically. If it's not, then, but that you just rest. The offender said that it simply just wasn't safe for the children, and she was only doing what was safe for the children, right? So then it goes on, which was the police asked if he felt it was safe for him to be driving the other children around with his injuries. He said absolutely it was safe for him to be doing so. That he drives with his left foot all the time, which is, again, not really safe, but whatever. Nonetheless, the offender felt that it was simply too unsafe for the victim to be driving the children around. The victim argued that the offender was in violation of the court order. By the time the reporting officer listened to both arguments, the allowed time for the victim to have the children had nearly passed, and the children were not allowed to go with the victim. The victim requested a report be filed for the court order violation, and there was no further information to report. So we can talk about this one, Ethan. So basically what it sounds like is he shows up late to pick up the kids, right? And then he's not in a good condition to drive. He's using his left foot to drive. He's got an injured arm, which also makes it hard for you to, like, turn, not impossible, but more difficult to turn. So he's not fully himself. And she's like, look, it's just not safe for the kids to go with you. And he's arguing that, but he was only going to spend an hour with the kids anyways. So again, it's kind of, I think, I don't know. I have thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, assuming this report is accurate, I agree that I would not want my children in the car with somebody that's injured and driving with the wrong foot. It doesn't seem safe to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And, again, putting your children at risk. And it's not unreasonable. He could have, again, he showed up an hour before. He could have, I'm quite sure, I mean, based on what we've seen in this, and again, you're right, it's assuming that these are accurate, which they're police reports. So it's a he said, she said, they take it from both sides and they put whatever it is on there, right? But I have a feeling if he said something like, hey, I'm injured, could you bring them to me? She might have done it. Because she said she would never deny them, and she would rather him do that versus putting the kids in an unsafe situation.
I agree.
Somebody asked, and it's a good question, do we know how he got these injuries? Because these are kind of some odd injuries to have at the same time. Have you seen anything on that? You might, because you just get this shit.
I mean, this stuff is public information. You just got to go ask for it. But sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's hard, sometimes you never get anything, sometimes it's really redacted.
Yeah, well, some of these are pretty redacted, but let's let's keep going. So this is the one that I started to read a second ago, and I don't like this one, but I think this one's one of the more juicy ones that we're going to talk about. So this was on 3/6/16. This is the one where the victim is Allie, the ex-wife, and JP is the offender. And I think when you listen to this report and you take into consideration what we already know about his and Micah's relationship, I think some things are going to make a lot of sense. So this one's a little bit lengthy, but juicy. So there you go. So on 3/16, the victim reported that the offender constantly stalks and harasses her. The victim said that the offender is her blank, and they redacted it. And since their breakup, the offender will not leave the victim alone. The victim said the offender comes to her job, her new church, and very often her home. The victim says that the offender uses blank for an excuse to see, which I'm guessing is one of the children who's redacted, for an excuse to see her. And the victim feels, we'll say Allie feels sure that JP comes to her home when she is not there. Several months ago, reporting officer responded to Allie's residence at the request of her father, who stated the offender was lying in the victim's front yard, in Allie's front yard. Allie was not home at the time. This was the video that we've all seen. I think that we should play it in a second too, just for funsies.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that just because it's always fun to watch. I use that picture and every time I do a thumbnail just because I love that picture of him. But anyways, Allie wasn't home at the time. And at the time, JP appeared to be under the influence of something, and rescue was notified to respond. JP refused treatment, said that maybe he got his medication mixed up and he took his sleeping pills instead of his other medications. A few months later, JP was at Allie's residence wanting to take, I guess, another one of the kids for ice cream, but Allie refused to let the kid go because he was injured. This was the one that we talked about a minute ago, and was taking medication. The victim, Allie, said that the offender was in no shape to drive and it was not safe to let the kids go with him. Reporting officer responded to that incident saying as well, and did determine, and by the way, reporting officer responded to the incident and did determine that it was not safe for JP to take the kids. The cops thought that it wasn't safe.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to the next page. The victim said since those prior incidents, there have been many more, such as JP coming to the victim's new job, bringing somebody with him, I guess one of the kids when he has visitation, and telling Allie somebody wanted to see her. The victim has custody of, again, redacted, and is with them most of the time. Allie
Justin?
said, yeah.
I am not sure that There it is. It just popped on. There we go.
You okay?
Yeah, I wasn't seeing the page that you were reading from on the YouTube.
Oh, it probably took it a second from when I did.
Sorry. Yeah, you're good.
It said that she chose a new church separate from the one that JP was at, that they used to be at together. And since she has chosen a new church, she says that he has gone to her church and asked the counselor for counseling. In addition to going to Allie's job and church, the victim said that JP texts her and calls her constantly, has been begging her to spend 40 days and 40 nights with him without interference. JP told Allie that it is God's will for him to move back into her house, and Allie has refused to allow the offender into her home, JP into her home, to stay, and says that she has no desire for JP to ever move in with her. Within the past month, Allie has said said JP has moved into this. Okay, I want y'all to listen to this part. Within the past month of this report happening, Allie said that JP has moved into her house, into a house directly across the pond and in front of the victim's house, in front of Allie's house. Okay, so he's moved to where he is staring at her. Okay, he is staring at us. He has literally uprooted his residence to basically stalk her. Okay. So let's keep, anyway, we'll keep going.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out is that
yeah,
if you go down the rabbit hole with Google Earth, you can sort of see where this place is, and you can see the pond that they're referencing, and it's like a very small neighborhood, like HOA type pond. It's not like some glamorous, huge exotic lake that's large. I mean, it's close.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we see in a different report, it's close enough that he can sit on his front porch and harass her. So
Yep.
here's to come. So since the offender has moved across the pond from the victim said the offender will call and text whenever and call and text Allie that he sees her when she leaves and comes home, and that JP also lets Allie know when he sees that Allie has company. So not only does he move across from her, but he is like sitting there watching her like a hawk, constantly texting her. Like, I mean, that's like some like scream, like, I'm in the house kind of stuff. Like, it's creepy.
The call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what this is. It's creepy. So Allie said,
I think the thing that bothers me the most about all of these is just how, his children were there. His kids are presumably in that home with her, and just sort of treating her this way and doing that. I just don't know what sort of impact that would have on the kids. It doesn't sound good to me.
No, it's definitely not a good impact on the kids. I agree, because what you're seeing is your dad. Well, it does a couple things. One is, it's showing. So if you have male children, which we know that he does, a lot of those boys are a lot of times are going to take cues from their father, right, on how to act as men. And we know that in November of 23 and January of 24, his oldest son was arrested for domestic violence and harassing and stalking. So that's part of it, so that's part of it. I mean, that's when it comes full circle here, but we know that happened because that's how you see that this guy acts. And I think that's going to definitely have a negative impact on the kids, when they're put in the middle of a situation like this, and he won't leave her. And, you're going to see your mom stressed out. You're going to see, her having to deal with all this stuff with him, and constant arguments, and police constantly getting involved. It's going to be, it's definitely, yeah, I agree with you. It's not good for the kids in no way, shape, or form. But he's watching her. So it's not like he's just sitting in his house. Like, he's sitting in his house watching her when she comes home, or he's not, and he's got something that notifies him, like maybe, like a driveway alarm or something that maybe she's not aware of, because, he's good at hiding things, right? But like maybe a driveway alarm. So every time she pulls in or pulls out, or company comes in or comes out, he's got some way of knowing it, notifies him, because it's close enough that he could do that. It would be within range. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm just saying that that's one way it could have happened. So yeah. Anyways, Allie said that JP told her the only thing blocking his view, which is not allowing him to have a complete visual across to the front of her residence, is a magnolia tree that is planted in the middle of the cul-de-sac. And the victim said that she has noticed several times white substance spread around the base of the tree, and has realized that the substance is Epsom salt. The victim feels sure the offender is placing large amounts of Epsom salt there around the tree in an effort to kill the tree. Okay, because Epsom salt, a lot of salt will kill a tree, or will kill plants. This makes the soil toxic for them. You can't do it. So know so much of Epsom salt that shows up when JP shows up. So I mean, put two and two together there. The victim feels for sure the offender is placing large amounts of salt around the tree enough to kill the tree. The victim said that the reason she believes the offender is the one responsible for the salt is because he used the same technique to kill a few trees that were on the property where his church is. The victim has recently had a video surveillance system placed on her residence, said that she would advise reporting officer of any video evidence the offender stalking around her residence or intentionally causing damage to the large tree, the tree which is HOA property. Allie said that JP's reason for wanting to destroy the tree is so he could fully see the front of her residence with no interference, basically. Allie said that she does not feel physically threatened by the offender, but does feel like the offender is stalking her and harassing her nonstop. The victim said that she would talk to her manager at work and make sure that JP is given trespass notice for her job. Allie said that she would also talk to her pastor and have JP issued a trespass notice at her church because he showed up to her church. He runs a church, right? He's got counselors within his church, and he's going to her church despite all the other churches in the area requesting counseling at her church. So just bear that in mind. That's point blank, what's going on. At this time, the report will not be presented to magistrate because victim was referred back to her attorney to inquire about an order of protection. The victim was told to notify law enforcement again if harassment or stalking continued or if the offender refused to obey future trespass notices. At this time, there's no further information to report. That's a lot to report in one report. I mean, that's a lot in that one.
Yeah, I think this one's interesting because if you look at the first page, it has an incident date of January 25th, 2016. And then next to it, you see that it's got a report date of, I believe it was March 6th.
March 6th, 2016, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 6 weeks or something in there. And I just wonder if this is like maybe the thing happened in the driveway and then she just got more and more nervous or felt threatened by the salt and all that stuff. And maybe that's why it took over a month to call the cops. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe so, or maybe she was trying to handle it because, maybe every time you get the cops involved, it's more of a problem, or maybe she's trying to protect the kids. I mean, it's all speculation on our part at this point, but
yep.
And by the way, the reason that I'm reading these out loud, because obviously I know y'all can see them on the screen, is for people who are listening to it in a podcast later, and also for those on TikTok. But I think it's good too because we want to make sure that we break it down. So let's do the next one, which is this report is from 6/28/16. So we've gone I think there was one in between, but it wasn't overly. It was a custody thing, nothing overly, complaining about times and stuff like this. So bearing in mind what we just talked about, JP's moved. He's moved into her neighborhood to overlook where she lives because that's normal behavior. Whatever. So on the reference above date and time, which is 6/28/16 at 2100 hours, on the above reference date and time, the officer responded to the incident location in reference to harassment complaint. The responding officer met with the victim, Allie, who states blank. It looks like it's JP Miller, even though it's redacted. States blank, separated for a year, going through a divorce, has been using a green laser because he's a freaking sixth grader, a green laser to shine into her residence. I remember when laser pointers came out; they were cool.
Yeah, true.
But I was in middle school too. So the victim states that the suspect moved into a house across the lake where he can see into her garage/residence. The victim states tonight the suspect had a green laser and it was being pointed at her garage where I'm guessing one of the children is based on the redaction. I'm guessing that's who it is. The incident was caught on video. The responding officer observed the video. The video showed a green in color light being shined on Allie's residence from across the lake or the little pond, approximately where the suspect lives, where JP lives. They are advised to have a copy burned and given to her lawyer. That's basically the one on this one. So it's just and I think that here's the importance of bringing this up. That seems maybe minuscule to some people. I think that if you are a person who's been in a situation, an abusive relationship where you've been stalked or you've had to deal with this, then even though it might be minuscule, it's just one more thing that it adds. And my guess is because we're looking at what the last report was March and this one was June, there was probably a lot more in that 3-month period that she let go, is what I would have to imagine. Because if he's doing this kind of stuff, like shining lasers, he's just constantly wanting to be in her face. But it's weird. Some of the stuff that he's doing is weird.
It's interesting to me that he does all this kind of really annoying, just kind of nitpicking, just poking.
Yeah, it's a great way
And
of putting it. Poking.
it can break somebody down over time. I don't think he's got the guts to do like she even put in that report. I don't think she doesn't feel fear for her life, but it's still emotional abuse if this is true, you know? I think and it feels very similar to what we've been hearing come out about Micah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Except when you're looking at this, what I thought when I was reading it, at least, is that he's honed his craft more in the last decade. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate to word it that way, but
He's got GPS trackers and razor blades for tires now instead of
exactly
lasers.
Yeah, he's hiding GPS trackers. He, like you said, he's putting razor blades in tires. He's calling from unknown phone numbers. He's, harassing family members, all sorts of things that he's doing with this. And he's just, he's just messing with her. Just, it's like you said, it's emotional abuse. It's emotionally damaging. She's trying to keep it all together. But here's the thing. This goes back when we talked about Mike, and I know you've been in a lot of my lives, so you've probably heard me say this. I'm not going to hear it now, but it's one of those situations where you get to a point where I feel like he was trying to elicit reactive abuse from her. Okay. Like, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you till you react. And when you react, I'm going to be able to call the cops. Look how crazy she is. Look how insane. Look at how she's acting. Because you push and push and push till you get to a breaking point. And that's kind of what happens. And the reason that we're showing this, and there are more of these, by the way. I've got 3 more of these to show you, and those are just the ones. I think there were 2 or 3 more that I didn't put up, but because they were more minor and not as, for lack of a better word, interesting. Still relevant, but not overly interesting. It was just like getting in with custody type stuff, and you were supposed to bring the kid back at this time, you didn't bring the kid back at this time, kind of stuff. I mean, we're gonna have a few of those already, but it just really kind of shows a pattern that this is what he does. And again, remember that the reason that Allie decided to divorce him was because he had been having, as she put it, multiple affairs. Like, multiple. He was having one with Micah. There was apparently affairs with, as she put in her divorce decree, girls under the age of 16. Plus, he hits on anything and everything with a pulse. So she was like, I'm done with this. But this is the man that can't stand for that. He would have to leave you for you to be left alone. And even then, I'm not sure he would.
Yeah, he didn't want to be with her. He just didn't want her to be with anybody else.
Correct.
And yeah.
So,
and if the allegations are true, he was very busy. I don't know where he found time to, shine lasers over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I don't know how he has time to do half the stuff he does.
Yep.
So let's go with this next one here. We'll talk about this one. So this one is dated about 8 months, 9 months later, 2/21/17. Okay. And this was at midnight. So really like 2:20, but it doesn't matter. So on 2/23, this is when when the report was filed. This is at 2/21, but on 2/23/17, in Myrtle Beach section of Horry County, RO responded to the burglary. Now, this is JP calling this in, trying to put this on Allie based on what I can tell. But basically respond to a burglary call at the above referenced address. And this one's really important. So just bear with me as to why in a second. Responding officer met with the complainant, who stated that he was out of town from 2/18/17 to 2/22/17. The complainant did not notice anything out of the ordinary when he got home until 2/23. Complainant checked with his emails, and he received an email stating that there were purchases made on 2/21 from someone's iPhones that were at his house, at JP's house. JP stated that the phones were password protected, and the only people that knew the password were him and redacted. JP went to look for the phones and noticed that one was dead and the other had been moved. Later, JP noticed that his laptop had been gone through and all of his history had been deleted. JP suspects this was done by blank, I'm guessing Allie is redacted, who had one of the kids the time he was out of town, but JP had no proof of this. JP also has 2 roommates that live with him, but were at work during the day and could have possibly left the front door unlocked. So basically, JP provided proof that purchases were made, but no exact times. R attempted to make contact with claimed suspect, but wasn't able to reach them, and there was no further information report. So here's why I feel this one's important. Do you have anything that you want to add to this one, Ethan, before I get into it?
No, I wanted to make sure you had the one about mentioning the babysitter. Is that one ready to go after this? Okay, cool. Go ahead.
I think that's the Father's Day one, I believe.
I think you're right. No,
Yeah.
I mean, this one to me is just,
This one's really
he's
important.
JP.
Yeah, this one's important because here's why I think it's important, because when you look at the times that he called the police on Micah, and it was, guess what? It was the same thing. It was with devices. It was theft, it was burglary, whatever. She stole money using devices. It's literally the exact same thing, just with different technology, several years later.
You're right.
It's the same MO.
So then he couldn't prove anything, and he just kind of looks dumb to me on this one.
Yeah, just like with Micah, but he's wanting to have a police report there because he wants a record there, so he can show the record. He has that, as like a thing, just like, oh, look what she did. Like, you stole. This is the report I had, even though it doesn't really show anything. But it was the same thing with Micah. Myrtle Beach basically considered that case closed as well when there was nothing there. But it's basically the same type of stuff that he does with her. He's doing with Allie. It's the exact same pattern. And that's why it's important that we're going through all of these, because one is, again, they're interesting, but two, it shows that he took his craft of stalking and harassing and improved it over the years, and then added additional, technology improved, added additional technology to it, like trackers and things like that. And just continues to do the exact same stuff. And guess what? He'll probably, when he's done with Susie, he'll probably do the same thing to her. So,
well, hopefully she at least is aware of a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're in that situation and you're put in that under that spell, and you're getting love bombed by somebody like him, I'm quite sure he's got an excuse for it. I mean, they're still being seen together.
Are they?
So, my understanding is, yeah. I mean,
I've heard several people have come out and take it for a grain of salt, not Epsom salt, but just table salt.
Right.
Daily Mail ran an article today, or maybe it was yesterday, and people close to them are saying that they're just friends. They're not dating at all. So I don't know if that's actually his girlfriend, but I do want her to be careful.
I have a feeling. Okay, look, and the chat on both TikTok and on here can feel free to chime in on this one. But do I think that men and women can have strictly platonic friendships? Yes. Do I think that JP Miller can have platonic friendships with women? No.
I agree.
Although
she, based on his MO, she doesn't seem like his type, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he could switch it up. I think that his type is anything with a pulse.
Yeah, that does opens up a lot more options.
So, and her husband ends up, anyways, that's a different one, but that's my point. So, anyway, let's go to the next one. So this one, let me get this one pulled up because I have to read it a little bit. This one is the Father's Day custody one. So for this one, it says toward the bottom here, this is on June 17th of 2018. Responding officer responded to, there's an address, the Myrtle Beach section, blah, blah, blah. Child custody dispute. Once on the scene, RO spoke to Entity 1, the complainant, who stated that blank, the suspect, had not returned their child. So complainant in this case is Allie, suspect in this case is JP. Had not returned their child. Entity 2, which is JP, as per the family court ordered custody agreement, she stated that the suspect, JP, was supposed to have their 3 children on Father's Day from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Two of the 3 children were returned home at the appropriate time. However, Entity 2, which is one of the children, had not been returned. to the mom. So Allie advised the suspect. Let me go to the next page. Sorry for you guys who are looking at this. So Allie advised that the suspect, JP, was texting. I texted her later that evening saying that the child did not want to come back and asked if he could keep the child for the week. According to, Allie said the custody agreement stated that JP was allowed to have the child for a week in each of the months in June, July, and August. However, JP needed to request the request in writing a week in advance, and she declined that request for this week. The responding officer spoke with JP, who stated that he had asked in advance for the child, and that Allie stated that due to her having an injured leg, she told him that he could have the children any week he wanted. But again, as typical for JP, was unable to provide any proof of this conversation occurring.
Once again,
I'm pausing for dramatic effect here because once again, he says something, but there's no receipts for it. So she says it's not true. He says it is. He can't provide proof. So, anyways, both parties had copies of the custody agreement on hand for the officer to review. Officer conferred with the sergeant about the situation. His sergeant, it was determined that due to the court-signed agreement stating that the suspect, JP, only had the children until 6 p.m. on Father's Day, Allie being the primary custodian of the child, and the JP being unable to provide proof of the advancement request for having the child that week, Allie was to have the child returned to her. Now, the officer advised JP that failure to return the child might result in family court seeing him in violation of his custody agreement through family court. And so JP ended up bringing the kid back. That's what happened here. So again, it's just,
I do. And he just constantly loses. He fights a battle and then loses.
Because it's not about winning. It's about providing. He does lose, but it's not about winning or losing for him in this case. It's about providing as much inconvenience. And now he's getting to use the police to harass, and then he can go see the kids. And I'm not saying he's done this because I don't know, but I'm basing this on experience that I had. But look, your mom, look how much she has to call the cops on me. We could just work it out, but she refuses. It's all toxic mind game stuff. It is. He's able to use it to pit them against the kids, against the mom. It's all a divide and conquer thing, which is what he does. He divides. He gets them away from what he wants. The same thing he did with Micah. He isolates them until they basically lose their mind. It's what he tries to do. So so even though some things might seem fairly minuscule in the scheme of things, there really, in my opinion, is a deeper layer that kind of shows, a little bit of methodical thinking here. That he knows.
And during that last one was that 2017? You don't have to
that
check.
One, I think, was 18.
Okay. So was Micah in the picture officially by then or unofficially? Was Micah in the picture then officially or unofficially?
Micah was in the picture before the divorce decree because he was having an affair with her.
Yeah, I mean, the married part.
Well, yeah, they got married. They got married in 2017. Yes.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is yes.
Okay. Yeah, I knew all about the previous stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, she was already there. So the next one, and then we're getting into some fun text. I say fun text messages, but they're not fun. They're terrible. So this one is dated. Where's the date on this one? I don't see the date on this one. But this one, here, it's got October 3rd, but I don't see the year. It doesn't matter for the sake of this discussion. It doesn't matter. This is again another just playing games. So complainant stated that basically JP stated that he's supposed to have his 4 children on this date, whatever date this is, and time from 4:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. One of JP's sons was at a friend's birthday party in the Gates community and was unable to be there at the specified time. JP is going through family court and stated he needed a report written so that he may take it to mediation that they are having on October 3rd. Responding officer explained that no custodial interference had taken place. He just insisted on a report to be written for this matter. So again, and this one again seems more minuscule about the birthday party, but at the same time, I think it just shows, him.
Yep.
Like it's just playing a game. Yeah, True Colors. There was another one that I don't have up here that I really wanted to show. Is it? Um,
Well, the one I mentioned earlier was just sort of like just the fact that a babysitter was referenced.
yeah, I'm looking for that. That's what I'm looking for too. Maybe I should throw the other ones up here real quick. Um,
And the
oh yeah,
babysitter is not
yeah.
named.
Let me throw these up. I'm gonna throw these up here. Give me 1 second here. We're gonna throw these up here because I actually, now that I look at them again, I think both both of them are relevant. There's 2 more guys. I'm gonna show you some pretty damning text messages. One right here is this is the one you're talking about with the babysitter right here. So this one right here is dated 3/20/16. So we're going back a little bit. And basically what's happening here is responding officer met with the victim, which is Allie in this case. Allie stated that she had received a phone call from the suspect in regards to one of the kids. Allie stated that JP told her that blank had been hit in the face with a baseball. Allie stated that JP told the babysitter that it was okay for them to leave because JP was almost home. When Allie stated that so this kid got hit in the face with a baseball, apparently, has a babysitter watching them. Before JP even arrives, he just allegedly dismisses the babysitter, says she can go home. So Allie stated that the suspect, JP, told the babysitter it was okay for them to leave because he was on the way home, almost home. And Allie stated that the suspect hurried off the phone with her and hung up. Allie stated that she went over to the JP's residence and found the child outside in the driveway alone, no adult around, crying. So this kid's, crying. He's up, they're, I don't know if it's a he or she, but they're upset, hit in the face with a baseball. And JP dismisses the alleged babysitter, and the kids just sitting in the driveway by themselves crying. Responding officer talked to JP by phone. JP stated that at no point in time was the child left alone, despite the fact that she had just arrived and the child was left alone. JP said that the babysitter was with the kid until the victim picked them up. The JP stated that the victim does not like it when anyone but JP is with blank. So basically, he's saying that Allie's saying that this is just because she doesn't like it when anybody but me is with them, and she was just upset because the kid was with the babysitter. That's not why Allie was upset. Allie was upset because the kid was alone. So after the responding officer was off the phone with JP, Allie informed the officer about the custody agreement. Allie wanted it noted that the agreement stated that the kids were supposed to be at home by 5 o'clock, 1700 hours, were dropped off at the victim's residence. He was basically 38 minutes late dropping the kids off while the officer was still on scene. So yeah.
Well, speaking of children crying, do you still want to show that video of him in the driveway?
I do. You want to do the last one before we do?
Oh yeah, go for it.
We'll do there's one more. Yeah, there's one more. Let's just do it, because I think I wasn't going to do all of them, but I'm like, man, after I looked at both of them again, I was like, yeah, they're both they're both worth showing. But I've never seen so many, like, this is a lot of police reports, for what we're talking about here.
Yep.
So
I requested a lot more stuff, but this is all I got. And then they're like, hey, if you want to spend a bunch of money, we can print off some stuff and mail it to you. And I was like, this is enough for me to manage right now.
How much money are we talking about?
It was about $200, give or take.
That is a lot when we already have.
And they didn't give me any indication what I don't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they're getting a lot of requests for this guy's stuff too, though. So this report is from 6/17 of 18. On 6/24, reports when it was reported on, and it was entered on 6/24. On 6/24, I responded to address. Suspect called this time because JP called because the mother had apparently agreed to let one of the kids stay with him this week, and that officer so-and-so had verified on the original report date. However, Allie stated that he was now being told, or sorry, suspect stated that JP said that he was now being told by the mother of the children that she was going to call the police if he did not return them. He stated he had not been able to supply her with the dates that he wanted, basically the weeks, since he gets them 1 week, in full week each month in the summer by April 1st, which was the deadline of the agreement, but he still wanted the week. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and talk about this. So he's got a whole year to enter in the weeks that he wants his kid, but he does it after the fact, still demands that she bends over backwards, despite the fact that he's in violation of the custody agreement, basically just to create and make things harder, to bring police back involved. It's just another, it's exhausting. How many police were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 or 8 police reports here in a very short amount of time. And this is just what we know that was filed. There could potentially be more, and there's definitely could be more incidents. And it's just, how exhausting is this? It's exhausting reading them.
I actually, I did ask for body cam, dash cam, anything, and like this is all I got. But for $200, maybe it's out there. I'm not sure. I don't think the body cam is available.
Yeah, it'd be interesting though. That would be interesting. So the officer said that he did see the text message where she told him on 6/17 that he could have the kid this week. He spoke to Allie, who stated that she had sent that before the police were called on 6/17, and now she had felt uncomfortable leaving her child with JP because JP had been telling the children mean and inappropriate things about her, which is kind of what I mentioned in an earlier report, which now were causing issues at home. She agreed to allow the kid to stay with JP, or kids to stay with JP until Friday, 6/29/18, which would then be a week, and that her children needed to be returned no later than time of day written in the custody agreement, which she believed was 5 o'clock. She also wanted me to advise JP that she wanted absolutely no further contact with him. Listen, okay. She took this event to say, also tell JP that I want absolutely no further contact with him by any means, unless the contact strictly concerns picking up or dropping off the kids or an emergency situation. So officer advises that to the suspect. He also advised both parties that everyone concerned needed to appear in family court and have custody agreement amended to have a solution for this type of a situation where the suspect may have forgotten to supply possible dates, blah, blah, blah. So that was it for this one. It's just,
it was nice to see that she specifically documented that she wants no further contact, like, hey, put this in your report. I don't want this guy to call me unless he's got my children or there's a problem,
Yeah.
with them.
Well, so let's share, because I know we talked about sharing this. So we'll share. So again, that one report that we had first talked about, this was the one with him in the yard. In the off chance you haven't seen this, I'm not going to play the full thing because, it's long, but,
make sure the audio works.
yeah, it'll work. I can go. If my computer will work, that's the question. When I say this, let me reload it real quick. I say this is the one that you sent me, but yeah, I don't know. This one's not working. Very good.
JP. You all right, man? You okay? Huh? You okay? What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter? You switched my medication. Makes me go crazy. Yeah. Is somebody helping you? I think Mark's coming to get me. Oh, okay. I thought I was going to see Jesus. Okay. But you got Mark coming? Somebody called him, I think. Okay. I feel like ants are biting me. I can't go to see Jesus. Because ants bite me everywhere. Is your medication something they gave you? Yes, I'm a drug. Yeah. You want me to make sure Mark's coming? Yeah, all I do is find out when the phone's on me. But somebody's called him, right? Yeah, the lady across the street called. Okay. All right. Hey, JP.
Good.
I think Mark is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I had him try to get in touch with me again to make sure. Is that okay?
You know what the ants?
Huh?
What the ants fight me? There's ants all over me.
Feels like there's ants on you. There's no ants on you though. It's just, maybe that's how you feel, but there's none on you. There's none on the grass. What kind of medicine do they have you on? All right. Well, somebody's going to come. Okay. Do I need to call 911? Do I need to call the medics? Yeah, we got somebody coming. You want some water or anything? You want some water? Yeah, he said okay if you got a little bottle of water. I don't know. I think they changed his medication or something, he said. And he said like ants was crawling on him and stuff. So I got somebody coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
I live
across the street.
back over here.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, let me know if I can do anything for him.
okay, I think he's.
Here's some water, JP. You want some water? Okay. You want to try to sit up? You want to try to sit up, or you want to put it to your mouth, or what?
I'll be out in a few minutes if you need anything.
Okay. Is that enough? You want more?
I can't stop making any noises in the morning when I wake up.
If Mark can't make it quick, you want me to get your mom over here?
I don't want my mom anywhere. They're jerks. They're crazy. I always told everybody to get on medication, and this is what it does. They're crazy. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't do nothing. I feel like I ants in my eyes. I can't open up my eyes.
I feel that's enough, don't you? I mean, we're like right at the end, anyways, Ethan. So Ethan,
Yeah, man, I think people get the idea.
well, I mean, there's only 3 seconds left anyway, so we were at the end. But I wanted to play it in full. Originally, I wasn't going to do it because I can't stand listening. Because somebody pointed out he sounds like Beaker from the Muppets. But
Don't do Beaker like that.
yeah, that's true. We shouldn't insult Beaker. You're right. Beaker's a good character. But I don't think I've ever watched the full. I've seen like parts of it, but I've never watched it all the way through. And so I think that it was good to kind of do that. But here, let's talk about what we just watched, because before I say what I understand had happened in this situation, what do you think? Like, do you think, and this goes for people who are in the comment section too, is he faking this? Is he tweaking? Is he in withdrawal? Is it a medication mix-up? What do you think is going on here?
Well, first of all, I'm judging by context clues that he had just driven there because the door's open. He acts like he's paralyzed laying on the ground. I'm like, well, even if you were only driving with 1 foot, like you tried to do that one day, I just don't know how you can operate a vehicle, park it pretty well in the driveway at the right place. He knew exactly where he was going, and then he's laying in the ground acting like he's tripping. And so I just don't know how you go from point A to point B so fast.
Okay, what I understand to have happened in this situation is this was another tactic. He was there and he was mad or upset that Allie wasn't letting him see the kids, and that's what this was about. He's going to go meet Jesus. He just wants to see his kids, blah, 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 blah. That's what he wanted to do. And when this didn't work, because it didn't work, he then went back to the let me be angry, let me be a jerk again, and went back to that. He likes to use medication, but again, I don't think you were on with me or you were in here that one night I was talking about this, but there was the one sermon that he did where he talks about being depressed and wanting to take his own life and being on lithium. And I think he said like the highest dose, which somebody had looked up and said was like 600 milligrams of lithium, which is huge. I mean, that's like for severe mental impairment,
Well, and I feel like it's not easy to be prescribed that based on my very unprofessional understanding.
Based on my very unprofessional understanding, I understand that it's a highly controlled substance. And
Yep.
so he's on this, but then Micah's on it too. And is
it the same doctor? Who's their plug?
Well, my guess is whoever the doctor is part of the church. If I had to guess, I would love to see who signed off and see if they were part of this church.
Yep.
But I had some text messages. I don't remember if it was who did these. Hold on, let me put these up here. I don't know if you've seen these text messages yet. Have you seen these?
Maybe not.
Okay, so these might be some new. Yeah, these might be.
Looks like androids though. Ew.
Yeah, well, we can't hold them for that.
I'm just kidding.
So, okay. So in this situation, Micah is at her family's house. I think Sierra's house. And JP has decided that he is going to come there and get Micah. Let's read through this, okay? JP says, I'm on my way to your house. Be there by 12:55. This was, by the way, you can see at 9. This is 9:38 p.m. Be there by 12:55. So you're talking about a 3+ hour drive, okay? And he says, look, we don't want any drama. That was the pretense of Micah coming for a visit. This is just Micah alone. He goes 3 hours away. So let's not respect boundaries. Let's go with this. Matthew will not let you inside tonight. We aren't doing none of that tonight. He goes, that's fine. You can call the cops. He's like, our dog can barely handle visitors as it is, let alone anything drama. And here's what his response was. I'm armed. I'm ready. You seen this one yet, Ethan?
No, this is not the one that I've seen. But
okay, so he's on his way to their house. It's supposed to be a Micah only visit. He's on his way 3 hours away because he can't stand it. And he's I mean, when you're saying I'm armed, I'm ready, call the cops on me. I mean, anyways, let's keep going. He goes, I'm armed, I'm ready. They go, armed? He goes, Micah can fix all of this. He goes, this doesn't help anything. Threats and intimidation only make matters worse. He goes, I don't care. Driving, can't text, thanks. Well, he had no problem driving a second ago.
Right.
If you come here, the cop, just like he had no problem driving before he fell on the ground acting like a buffoon.
Exactly. He's like, hey, I can't text and drive, but I am going to threaten you with physical harm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But if you come here, the cops will be here waiting. If you stay home, they don't need to be involved. You can't make a threat about being armed and come to my home in the middle of the night. That's not safe for anyone involved. He goes, fine by me. Ha 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 ha. Ha. I don't care. I mean, that behavior is it's psychotic.
I would be curious to know if they called the cops. Like he gave him a 3-hour warning because he's stupid. It's like, what do you think's going to happen in those 3 hours? They're going to leave or protect themselves or call law enforcement. I mean, it's just
trying
really
to
dumb.
yeah, it's just he can't. He just can't. And maybe I don't know when these were in relationship, but she had gone there clearly without him. But this is not normal. This is not normal behavior of anybody. She's gone to visit her family. They're like, don't come. You're not welcome here. I'm going to come anyways. And I'm armed. If you don't let me in, I'm armed. Like, this
is around, so he would have been arriving at 1 a.m. wherever. Yeah, I almost wonder, was he deep in his cups that night? Had he been consuming alcohol potentially? Because this is just wild, stupid behavior.
He's texting pretty coherently, versus what I'm saying? Like have you ever drunk texted, your words don't look, they look jumbled. I mean, I guess we could
they look fine when I send them.
Yeah, I know they look fine when you send them, but then the next day they don't look as fine. These all look fine. These look like he texts. He likes to text like a middle schooler. So, this to me looks like him. I don't know if he was drinking or not, but anyways, let's go.
I just wonder where he got the courage, because he couldn't even get himself off the lawn a second ago. So,
yeah, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. All right, so this one. And we're just putting it up here for y'all to read. I got to make them bigger for me. Effing bitch tried to get me arrested. Every single piece of everything Micah owns or has, any part, is in the back of my truck. Basically, he's calling her an effing B for trying to get him arrested because he should be arrested, frankly. Every single piece. Apparently, somebody just commented who is close to the case. To answer your question, Ethan, they did call the police. Sierra called. And Riveting Real Life posted that call, so they did.
Jeez, I even knew that. I posted about that. Jeez, yeah. I'm losing it.
So it's okay. It's okay. It's late. Every single piece of everything Micah owns or has any part of is in the back of my truck. Ask her where she wants it. 2 options: on the outskirts of your property or the trash/Goodwill. There is nothing left inside of her house that has any attachment to her. 20 large garbage bags full, and she can choose where she wants it. If she calls me, if it's not at your place, it's gone. If she comes, then, okay, here's what I want to point out, how it completely changed. When I titled this one to bring it up, I titled it bipolar, okay? Because this is 11/7. So you heard what he just said. Everything we just read from 11/17/22 at 1:11 a.m. Then 7 hours later, not even, at 8:04 a.m. the same morning. So I guess he slept it off, whatever. If she comes home today, tell her I'm sorry. So sorry. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm sorry to you and Matt. All this started because of one bad decision a month ago in Colombia. If I could turn back time, I would. We had the greatest marriage. We had the greatest marriage in the world up until that one wrong choice. It can continue down that path, and we can have an amazing marriage once again. The choice is yours. Love you. If you come home today, we can take. She's not responding. If you come home today, we can take off the rest of the year and go counseling every day. Go to Iceland. Do whatever in order to get well. I also desperately want a child with you. I'm just scared of this. This is the only reason I wouldn't. I'm scared of divorce or putting the child through things like this where you leave and aren't willing to do whatever it takes. There is so much manipulation with this. Okay, one is everything that we just posted, or everything that I just read. Nobody responded to him. He just kept going. Okay? He just kept going. And he did like a complete 180, right? He went from like, you're an effing bitch, you got me arrested, I'm throwing all your stuff in the dump, or dropping it on the yard, to a few hours later, I'm so sorry, I'll do whatever. Love bombing, right? Well, to go to Iceland, I want to have a kid with you. Oh, and I don't want to put this hypothetical kid through stuff like this where you leave and aren't willing to do whatever it takes, putting the blame back on her.
Mm-hmm.
This kid.
What happened in Colombia? I'm curious about that too.
I can only guess an affair.
Well, yeah, that's my first thought too.
I can only guess an affair. But here's the thing: if he meets you by cheating, don't be surprised when he cheats on you again. So, or he cheats on you the same way. I mean, it's the same thing.
Solid point.
They both cheated on each other. You can't get past that point with either one of them. They both committed adultery. But anyway, so he's like, we'll have the greatest marriage. Go down this path. It's up to you. We'll love bombs. But you know what is? He's doing whatever he can to try to basically bring the narrative back to him. Let's have it. Like, why would you want to have a child with this psychopath?
And like, I'm only speaking for myself, but I have like enough shame that I would never want like the family to see this sort of behavior. Like, I mean, we
Agreed.
assume this was sent to multiple people, right? The way it's written.
I think it was sent to her, or one of
But
her.
he references her by name.
But then he starts saying, "If you come home today, I'm sorry." Unless it was two separate text. No, because if she comes home today, all this started.
That part's confusing to me, but
Here we go. Okay, I think maybe they're two separate texts to two separate people. Maybe that's what we're looking at here. Maybe on the left side, it's to a family member, maybe her dad, and on the right side, it's to her.
yeah. Either way, I stand by my point that this is horribly embarrassing to involve. I would not want anybody to know about this.
And somebody said it was a group text. So, and I can't tell. I mean, they have the tops are cut off, so I can't tell who it is. But it's something, you know. So now there's another one of these, and I like this next one because again, it goes back to, in my opinion, the projecting, right? So
Does that say Baby Huey?
That's what it says. Honey Baby at the top.
Oh, okay.
Get your eyes checked.
Dang it.
Honey Baby. So he's texting her, I guess, or she's whatever, or maybe he has hers. It doesn't matter. It looks like maybe that looks like a woman's hand. So this is all one big text, and we'll just read it. My blood is on you, and my kids will know. I couldn't take it without you. All you had to do was come home to me, but you wouldn't do it. I'm done. All you had to do was love me enough to drive home to me, but you don't even care that much about me. I love you. I'm sorry. Tell Sierra I'm sorry. This one, he's threatening to take his own life. That's what he's doing.
Once you cry wolf with that one, I feel like it was like his Hail Mary to get their attention or something, you know?
It was. I think it was too. But again, now Micah's dead by, taking her own life, and he's threatening about doing it. Just like, Micah's on lithium, but he admits to being on lithium. Micah has severe depression, but he's admitted to having severe depression. It very much mirrors the same situations, right? It's
yeah. And I just wonder, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm just asking a question. Like, I wonder if she developed all of these symptoms, if they're true, after he started, being in her life, and he just projects his own problems onto anybody, any woman in particular that he can convince to follow him,
Oh, I mean, what I've said 1,000 times, and other people have chimed in who are qualified, is that I believe he shows a lot of very narcissistic tendencies. Okay. I can't diagnose him as a narcissist because I'm not qualified, but people who are qualified say that, oh, this man's definitely a narcissist. And when it comes to that, it's truly all about control and doing whatever you can to take that control back. And that's what this is. He doesn't actually care about Micah. He never did, because if he's truly a narcissist, they are incapable of caring about anybody but themselves. I had this discussion with my aunt tonight because we were talking about my mom, and I was like, yeah, because my mom is a narcissist, and I was like, she doesn't love anybody. She can't love her kids. She can't love her own mom because these are all people that don't talk to her because they lack the ability. It's not being mean. They just can't. They lack the ability.
Yeah. What do we know? I mean, is a narcissist in general? Are they less likely or more likely to self-delete? Because
incredibly unlikely.
Curious. Yeah, I would think so.
Incredibly unlikely. It does not to say that doesn't happen. There are exceptions to every rule, right? But incredibly unlikely. So
I've heard that too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to take his own life. You know, the assets that he's got through the church are worth like $6 million, something like that. He's very content with his life. It's all for show. It doesn't matter if Micah didn't want him. It doesn't matter if Allie didn't want him. It's they're not allowed to discard him. He's the only one who's allowed to discard. And he's spiraling. And I feel like were you on TikTok the other night where he had an account, it started blowing up in like a 3-hour period, he posted like 13 or some odd things, and then the next day it was gone. To me, I'm gonna pull, if I can pull it back up. To me, that's reminiscent almost of this text right here. Like, let's go crazy here in the first part, 11:17 to 11, and the next day he comes back around and starts like, okay, this is a bad idea. Or that, or his lawyer finally spoke to him and like, what the hell are you doing, dude? So
Yeah, stop making this worse for yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Do we know that was how do we know that was really JP on that TikTok account? Just because of a bunch of photos we hadn't seen before?
I'll put it this way. And I guess you can't know for sure, but I feel confident in the fact that he was, because the one person he followed before he put that list private was Blue Eyed Devil, and Blue Eyed Devil had claimed that he was in contact with JP and JP was, and look, Blue Eyed Devil was posting stuff that we hadn't seen that could have probably only came from JP. And then
well, that was his one supporter, so he had to align himself with the one creator that kind of had his back.
Well, yeah, but Blue Eyed Devil's out of it because they threatened. He was threatened. His wife was threatened, and that's just look. And I've said this to him. He knows this because we've chatted behind the scenes. But I don't agree with his content. He and I are on very different pages. But you shouldn't be threatening people's family, spouses, livelihoods, etc. over this type of stuff. Nevertheless, but then he was also posting stuff that, and then turning off the comments because he can't stand to see the negativity, turning off the comments, but posting stuff that we hadn't seen before and stuff that, made him look good. And then he was also taking Bible verses and paraphrasing them the way that worked for him. And to me, based on what we've seen from him up to this point, makes me strongly believe that was his account.
Fair enough. I don't think, I mean, that's good reasoning.
But it's take that for what it's worth, I guess. And I just have a feeling TikTok did not go the way that he had hoped it would.
I mean, that would that could be another check mark on the narcissism side where it's like, oh, maybe I'll just go on TikTok and set this all straight.
But he did. He posted a bunch of weird stuff. So
yeah, it was really weird. I didn't like it at all. I followed it just so I didn't miss it, but it was bizarre.
I didn't follow it because I didn't need my name. Like Justin on TikTok did not need to follow that account. But if it had gone on for a couple of days more, I was going to follow it from one of my incognito accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So just to kind of keep up with it. But I mean, I kept checking it because it was bizarre. Like every time he was just posting like post after post. It was like a manic spiral.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying when I pull up this post again, this one where I call the bipolar text, he's very threatening and agitated and demeaning here basically, and then the next part he's very love bombing, like, oh, I love you, we could make this work, I want to have a child with you, because I'm guessing probably having kids was important to her. Probably was, she probably wanted kids, but she just didn't want one with this psycho.
Yeah,
because then
what's interesting is
forever.
We don't know. I guess we assume that he turned the truck around sometime after 1 a.m. because we don't have any reason to believe that he actually did anything with all her stuff. He may not even have that crap in the truck anyway.
Well, this might, yeah, I agree. He probably didn't. It was probably a threat. Like, I'm going to get rid of all your stuff. Yeah, exactly. He went with this first. I agree with you. I think exactly that's what it is. He went with this first. I'm going to throw all your stuff away. I'm going to throw it all away unless you call me and tell me where to take it. Meaning that
it's in the truck. I swear, I definitely have it in the truck.
I definitely have it in the truck. I'm going to dump it at Goodwill or the outskirts of, I guess, your
middle of the night. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't call me back, it's a control. It's control again. Like, you have to call me. You have to talk to me. It's not respecting boundaries that she has. Because here's the thing, and I'll just say this for any man that's listening. If you're with a woman and they need space, and it's gotten to a point where they're like leaving, then one, they've probably told you, not all the time, but most of the time. In this case, I feel confident making the statement, but they've probably told you 100 times and you didn't listen. And so when you continue to not listen to them after they've left, if he had maybe given her a little bit of space and acted like a normal human being, maybe this could have had a different outcome for their relationship. But instead he does this. But it takes women a long time. Typically, women will typically put up with a lot of stuff. You know, again, not every case, Ethan, but in a lot of cases, they'll put up with a lot of stuff before they go. I mean, again, and I'm stressing it's not all, because I'm thinking like my brother's situation where my brother chose to leave because it was a bad situation for him. But most of the time, if it's this situation, he could have changed the trajectory of this by acting like a normal, compassionate human being and respecting her boundaries. Is all I'm saying.
No, that's a good point.
But instead, he's
He couldn't do
psychotic.
it. I mean, he's just too scared to lose and not get his way. It's like a petulant child.
The thing is that the way that I find it very interesting with this, you're 100% right. It is like a petulant child. I 100% agree with you. And everything that he does, going down to the obituary, it's like he's a middle schooler. It really is. But like with this, there's not even like a transition here. You know, it's from hot to cold real quick, you know, like on to off. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm throwing away all this stuff. There's nothing here that has to do with you. It's gone. It's whatever. To, I love you. I'll do whatever it takes. Please come home. I'm sorry. This started because of a bad decision that I made. If I could turn back clock, we had the greatest marriage. I want to go down that path with you and continue our greatest marriage. We'll take time off. We'll go to Iceland, which I'm guessing is a place she wanted to go. I want to have kids with you. I'm desperate to have a kid with you. You know, trying to appeal to that. When the threats and aggression didn't work, then let's go with this.
But then you notice he still ends it blaming her, basically.
Yeah, he still ends it.
This is all because you just weren't willing to do whatever it takes. You should accept this kind of behavior from me forever.
It's exhausting.
It is. I'm glad you shared these. I hadn't seen these, but it's very on brand. You know,
it is very on brand for him. Yes. But he's nuts. Well, I appreciate you sending me all of those reports. Those were really interesting. And the thing is, I actually had more that I wanted to talk about tonight, but this is already getting to an hour and a half, and I want to keep it. So for tomorrow night, I actually have like a lot more. I probably have like another 45 minutes I could discuss, but I'm not going to do that tonight to these people. We'll do it tomorrow. Probably around maybe a little early, same time, whatever, because tomorrow's sub live, but we'll knock that out tomorrow. And there's a lot more to show you. And plus whatever new stuff comes out, because here's what I've discovered about this case. When we get to the weekdays, like on the weekends, it can be fairly quiet, but once we're back to courts rolling, lawyers working again, we get just like information dumps of like all this stuff that comes out. So I haven't really seen, I kind of saw what came out today, nothing major, but between now and tomorrow night, you know, we could have another bombshell. You know, who knows?
It's true. I'd love to know what's on Micah's phone. If anybody's listening, please report on that tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff that I just want her to get justice. Honestly, I know she's gone, but I think that this has opened my eyes in a lot of ways to how emotional turmoil can lead somebody to this. And we keep seeing more and more information, more women coming forward that have accusations. And I'm like, man, these are all puzzle pieces that explain how we got here, you know, in my opinion.
It's like a smaller Diddy is what it is.
Yeah, much smaller.
Much smaller Diddy. But
much smaller.
But honestly, he's so problematic because, you know, you're looking at, you know, verbal abuse. You see it in the text messages, and you see it in some of the things he's done. Emotional abuse and distress between, I mean, even if you took all the other stuff, the stalking and the trackers and the calling the workplaces and following you, took all that out. The affair alone is emotional, you know, abuse. You know that there's SA with it as well, because she documented that. There's physical abuse because that was documented as well. And at the end of the day, JP needs to be kept away from everybody. I believe that, you know, what we know with the FBI is prior to her death, they were looking into him for financial crimes. They're going to have a solid case for this. I feel confident that, because in my opinion, there's no way with the stuff that this guy owns, this almost $6 million in assets he's got underneath the church, from the 4 properties to the 29 cars to everything that goes with the church that he owns, plus the bar that he moved into his son's name. There's no way where you have all these high cash, vessels like the bar, like the church, like the missions, and you're not funneling cash through it. You're not laundering money. I would be shocked if we don't see RICO charges come from this.
I agree with you. I saw, and again, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that bar is cash only, which is always a good red flag.
Oh, cash only. I didn't know that it was cash only.
That's what I heard based on some Google reviews for that place. But if that's true, that's a little sketchy. I don't know. It's I wonder what's going to happen to this church. Because I know there's assets. I know there's a lot of money. I just don't know what happens next.
You can't keep it going without parishioners. And I don't know what happened on May 19th with this like yesterday. I don't know what the congregation looked at. If somebody knows, please let me know. Let Ethan know. Let one of us know. But I know that the previous Sunday, the Sunday prior to that, there were 30 people that showed up, including children, including the children.
I heard between 30 and 45 as well.
I've seen 30 a lot, but either way, it's not.
Are we counting the band on stage? There's 5. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that counts. I don't know, but 30 people showed up.
That's not good.
No, that's not good if you want to keep money rolling in. The other thing that I made a joke. I don't mean anything by this, but I just said, 29 cars are registered to church and 30 people show up to the church. I doubt that there's a connection there. I just thought it was kind of a funny observation. So,
well, I knew several people that wanted to drive to Myrtle Beach to attend that service, not the one yesterday, but from 8 days ago. And I heard they weren't letting any visitors in just because of this whole circus.
I guess they probably wanted to see what it was going to be like inside the church, but that, interesting. It's all very interesting. Well, yeah. I think that's what we got for tonight. I think tomorrow night we'll come back on. Ethan, I so appreciate you taking the time to join me, and I appreciate you, sharing these docs with me and letting me be the one to kind of show them. If you, I want you to, for anybody who's coming in late, and if you want to, type it in the chat for people, if you want to type your TikTok name in, for people to tell them what it is. I know it's Crime Scene Collective. I'm telling you guys, Ethan has got connections that you would not believe. I'm not going to divulge his stuff. But
I wish, man. I don't know if that's true, but I know you, so that's pretty cool.
Now, I know who you've talked to with the side project that we're working on, that they will find out on all in due time. But you've made some pretty big connections to that, and that's pretty great. So, I
appreciate you giving me a platform. I'm trying to get going. I don't want to be a creator, but I love, if I can give you something that your viewers would like to know about, and I can help a family in the process or something, I really appreciate, you always giving me a voice.
Always. That's what it's about. And I know that you're good for it too. I know that when you give me information, it's good information. So there's never an issue there. So, definitely give him a follow. His stuff is fact-based, guys. I mean, what he finds is 100% of the times up to this point has been legit.
Yeah. It's not that sexy because it's fact-based.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
it's sensational.
I feel like these things tonight were fairly sensational based on the for a lot of reasons. But, anyways, drop your thing in the chat if you haven't already, and it's Crime Scene Collective, scene spelled SEEN on TikTok. Definitely give them a follow, and we will see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks again, Ethan.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Justin.